Have you ever found yourself in a situation where someone else's negativity seemed to weigh heavily on your shoulders, draining your energy and focus? Have you wondered why some people can affect your well-being so deeply, making you feel irritated, anxious, or even worthless? The truth is, we all encounter toxic people at some point in life, whether at work, in our families, or even among friends. But what if there was a way to deal with these people without losing our inner peace? What if you could maintain your calm, confidence, and balance, regardless of destructive behavior around you? Stoic philosophy, which has been a source of wisdom for centuries, offers powerful tools to help us navigate these situations without being shaken. In this video, we will explore how the teachings of Stoic philosophers can be applied to deal with toxic people in modern society. We will discover how figures like Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca faced similar adversities in their lives, and how their lessons can help us maintain serenity in the most challenging interactions. What is a toxic person? Before we explore how Stoicism can guide us through difficult interactions, it's important to first define what we mean by a toxic person. Though, while there isn't a strict definition, a toxic person is generally someone who spreads negativity, destructive criticism, or emotional manipulation. These individuals often thrive on the discomfort or insecurity of others, and they have an uncanny ability to make others feel small, unworthy, frustrated, or even guilty, often without a clear reason. Toxic behavior can take many forms: a colleague who constantly belittles your ideas, a friend who undermines your achievements, or a family member who guilt-trips you into doing things for them. These people may not always show outward signs of malice, but their actions have a profound negative impact on your emotional well-being. The key characteristic of a toxic person is not necessarily their behavior, but how it makes others feel. It leaves them drained, confused, or resentful. The term toxic is modern, but people displaying such behaviors have existed throughout history. In ancient times, toxic people might have been a manipulative ruler, a deceitful friend, or an unfair judge. In the past, the stakes were often higher, as the social systems were more rigid and hierarchical, and people in power could dictate the terms of others' lives. However, the fundamental nature of toxic behavior, aiming to manipulate, control, or belittle others, remains unchanged. In today's world, the dynamics of toxic relationships have shifted, thanks to the rise of social media and a hyper-connected global society. Toxicity isn't confined to face-to-face interactions anymore. It can invade our digital spaces, taking the form of online bullying, passive-aggressive comments, or inflammatory posts. With the rise of platforms that emphasize instant reactions and personal opinions, it can be much harder to escape these toxic interactions, which often spiral into public displays of negativity. The real question is, how do we deal with these toxic individuals without losing our sense of self, our peace of mind, or our emotional stability? How can we navigate the world of negativity and not be swept up by it? Here, Stoicism offers profound wisdom on how we can respond to toxic behavior in a manner that preserves our emotional integrity and allows us to maintain inner peace. Epictetus and the power of controlling our reactions. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, often taught that our emotional responses are the only things truly within our control. He famously stated, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." What this means is that external events, whether it's the words or actions of others, are not inherently distressing. It is how we choose to interpret and react to them that determines our emotional state. When dealing with a toxic person, whether in personal relationships, the workplace, or on social media, we are constantly faced with two options. We can react emotionally, allowing their behavior to impact our mood, or we can take control of our emotions and choose a rational, composed response. The toxic behavior, in and of itself, doesn't have the power to hurt us unless we let it. Epictetus's life provides a powerful example of how to maintain control of one's inner state. even in the face of extreme hardship. Born into slavery, Epictetus lived much of his life under harsh conditions, yet he never allowed external circumstances to define his inner peace. He believed that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond to it. This core principle of Stoic thought is crucial when it comes to dealing with toxic people. Epictetus also taught the importance of distinguishing between what we can and cannot control. The actions and words of others fall outside our control, but our reaction to them remains firmly within our power. It's in these moments that we must practice mental discipline and reflection. Before reacting to a toxic person, we can pause and ask ourselves, what am I controlling here? Are we allowing ourselves to be swept away by their negativity? Or are we choosing to maintain our emotional integrity? For instance, imagine a colleague who frequently undermines your ideas in meetings. You may feel the urge to retaliate or lash out. However, by following Epictetus's teachings, you can stop yourself before reacting impulsively. Ask yourself, what is the real consequence of their words? Will engaging in a verbal battle serve my long-term well-being, or will it only escalate the negativity? By choosing not to engage in the same toxic energy, you preserve your mental clarity and remain composed, no matter how the other person behaves. This approach isn't about suppressing your emotions or pretending the toxic person's behavior doesn't hurt. Rather, it's about recognizing that the pain comes from your response to the situation. When we choose to respond thoughtfully, rather than emotionally, we reclaim our power. We recognize that, in the grand scheme of things, a toxic person's words or actions don't define us, our response does. Applying Epictetus's wisdom in daily life. Putting Epictetus's philosophy into practice requires constant awareness and self-reflection. One key method is to pause before reacting, especially in moments where emotions are heightened. Toxic interactions can trigger a range of responses: anger, frustration, self-doubt. However, by remembering Epictetus's advice, we can develop a habit of stepping back from the initial emotional reaction and taking a moment to process the situation. When faced with a toxic comment, for instance, you might ask yourself, what am I letting this person take from me? What do I have control over in this situation? How would I like to respond to this in a way that maintains my dignity and peace? This reflective pause doesn't mean we suppress our feelings or allow harmful behavior to slide by unnoticed. It simply means that we are choosing how to channel our emotional energy. Are we going to engage in an argument, allowing ourselves to be dragged into their negativity? Or are we going to step back and preserve our inner peace by taking the high road? Consider an example of a toxic family member who constantly criticizes your life choices. Instead of allowing their comments to rattle your confidence, Epictetus would encourage you to view the situation from a different perspective. This person is acting according to their own insecurities, and their criticism is a reflection of their struggles, not my worth. By reframing the situation, you not only neutralize their impact, but also prevent their negativity from affecting your emotional state. Epictetus would likely also remind us that these toxic interactions are opportunities for growth. Every time we manage to stay calm in the face of criticism or manipulation, we are training ourselves to be more resilient. Over time, we become less vulnerable to external negativity and more focused on the strength that lies within us. The Stoic practice of rational detachment. Detachment is another powerful Stoic practice that complements Epictetus's advice on controlling our reactions. This doesn't mean we become indifferent to the world around us, but rather, we detach ourselves from emotional overreaction. Instead of being swept away by the toxic behavior of others, we can maintain a sense of emotional distance, keeping our thoughts clear and rational. When we practice detachment, we are not ignoring the situation, but instead recognizing that the emotions others try to provoke in us do not define us. We understand that their behavior is a reflection of them, not us. With detachment, We no longer allow their negativity to invade our emotional space. For instance, think about the last time you were in a heated discussion with a toxic individual. Perhaps you felt personally attacked or judged. In those moments, it's easy to lose control and engage in a back and forth that only deepens the conflict. But through Stoic detachment, you can create mental space between their words and your emotions. This allows you to respond from a place of clarity rather than reacting from a place of hurt or anger. In the end, Epictetus teaches us a crucial lesson. We cannot control the behavior of others, but we can control our response. By consistently applying this philosophy, we can face toxic people with a calm and rational mindset, preserving our inner peace no matter how challenging the situation may be. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom and emotional resilience in the modern world. Seneca and the art of emotional detachment. Seneca, a central figure of Stoic philosophy, stands out for his deep understanding of emotional control and resilience. Throughout his writings, he emphasized the importance of detaching from negative emotions in order to maintain true peace of mind. Unlike the common human tendency to internalize the actions and words of others, Seneca teaches us that our emotional state should not be dependent on external circumstances, especially not the behavior of toxic people. Seneca's life was marked by political intrigue, personal losses, and periods of exile, yet he managed to maintain an incredible level of emotional detachment, an essential Stoic virtue. One of his key teachings revolves around understanding that our happiness does not come from outside forces, but from within. When we allow ourselves to be affected by the behavior of toxic individuals, whether it's their insults, manipulations, or attempts to make us feel inferior, we are relinquishing control over our own peace. This, for Seneca, is a weakness that prevents us from achieving true tranquility. In his letter to Lucilius, Seneca writes, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that defines your inner peace." This teaching directly addresses one of the most common responses to toxic people: emotional reactivity. When confronted with criticism or manipulation, the instinct is often to react with frustration, anger, or defensiveness. However, Seneca encourages us to recognize that the situation, no matter how challenging, is not the problem. The real issue lies in how we respond to it. This approach is especially pertinent when dealing with toxic individuals who aim to provoke or manipulate us emotionally. Toxic people may try to make us feel worthless, angry, or insecure, but it is important to remember that these feelings are not a reflection of our true selves. They are simply reactions to the toxicity of others. Seneca would advise that rather than letting these emotions define us or influence our actions, we should focus on what is truly important: our own peace of mind and emotional self-sufficiency. When we detach emotionally from toxic behavior, we regain control of our inner world and shield ourselves from the negative influence of others. A modern example of this teaching can be found in the business world, where competitive and manipulative behaviors are common. It's easy to become caught up in office politics or to feel undermined by colleagues who play destructive games. Seneca would counsel us not to let the actions of others dictate our emotional state. If a colleague undermines your achievements or tries to manipulate the situation to their advantage, Seneca's guidance would be clear. Do not allow their behavior to disturb your peace. Recognizing that their actions are a reflection of their character and not yours helps you detach from the emotional turbulence they create. You can continue to act with integrity, stay focused on your goals, and remain composed, knowing that their actions have no power over your peace unless you give them that power. Emotional detachment in this sense is not about indifference or denial. It's about understanding that our happiness and well-being come from within and are not contingent upon the actions of others. Seneca encourages us to maintain our emotional sovereignty, no matter the chaos unfolding around us. By doing so, we create a shield that protects our peace and allows us to stay focused on what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius and the practice of empathy and acceptance. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, faced immense challenges during his reign, both in the battlefield and in his personal life. Yet his reflections, recorded in his work, Meditations, provide a profound guide to dealing with adversity, including the toxicity of others. One of the core Stoic practices Marcus Aurelius advocates is empathy, not in the sense of excusing toxic behavior, but in understanding its roots. This practice allows us to view the actions of others with compassion rather than reacting with anger or frustration. In his writings, Marcus Aurelius frequently reminds us that when someone wrongs us, we should remember that the person causing harm is simply acting in accordance with their own limitations and beliefs. As he writes, "When someone wrongs you, remember that he is a human being acting according to his limitations and beliefs." This perspective is particularly useful when encountering toxic people because it shifts the focus from personal offense to understanding the behavior as a product of the other person's own internal struggles. Imagine, for example, dealing with a constantly negative colleague who undermines your work or spreads gossip about you. It's easy to take these actions personally, especially when they are aimed at making us feel less than. But Marcus Aurelius would urge us to take a step back and consider the bigger picture. Rather than seeing this person as someone out to attack us, we should remember that their actions stem from their own struggles, insecurities, or limitations. Perhaps they are threatened by our success, or maybe they are dealing with personal issues that affect their behavior. While this doesn't justify their toxicity, practicing empathy allows us to detach emotionally from the situation and respond more calmly. Empathy, in the Stoic sense, doesn't mean excusing bad behavior or allowing ourselves to be mistreated. Instead, it means recognizing the humanity in others, even when their actions are hurtful. By viewing toxic behavior as a manifestation of the other person's weaknesses rather than a personal attack, we reduce the emotional charge the situation has on us. We realize that the toxic person's actions are more about them than they are about us. One of the most powerful tools Marcus Aurelius offers in Meditations is the concept of acceptance. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control the actions of others, but we can control our response to them. When we accept that toxic people will always exist in the world, we free ourselves from the expectation that everyone around us should behave in a certain way. By accepting the limitations of others, we can focus on cultivating our own peace, rather than being consumed by the toxic energy around us. For instance, if you are constantly dealing with a family member who tries to manipulate your emotions, Marcus Aurelius would suggest practicing acceptance. Recognize that their behavior is a result of their own struggles and limitations, and choose not to let it disrupt your inner peace. This doesn't mean we tolerate mistreatment. It simply means we accept that we can't change others, but we can control how we react. Through empathy and acceptance, Marcus Aurelius teaches us how to remain steady in the face of adversity. By seeing toxic people as products of their own limitations and focusing on our own emotional responses, we protect our inner peace and prevent external negativity from contaminating our minds. The true challenge: protecting our inner peace. The ultimate challenge that Stoic philosophy presents when dealing with toxic people is this: how can we protect our inner peace without becoming indifferent or callous? How can we face the negativity of others and still maintain our compassion and integrity? The key, as Seneca and Marcus Aurelius teach, is in emotional detachment and empathy. Emotional detachment allows us to step back and observe a situation without being swept away by it. It's not about denying our feelings or pretending that the behavior of others doesn't affect us. It's about choosing to respond with calmness and clarity. Empathy, on the other hand, helps us understand the root of toxic behavior, allowing us to respond with compassion rather than anger or resentment. Both practices work in tandem to help us maintain our peace, even when others try to disturb it. In the end, the Stoic approach is not about changing others, but about changing how we engage with the world. By practicing emotional detachment and empathy, we protect ourselves from the toxic energy of others and remain grounded in our own peace. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom, developing the strength to remain unshaken, no matter the external circumstances. Through these teachings of Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, we learn that while we cannot control the behavior of toxic people, we can always control our response. And it is in this control that true freedom lies. Stoic philosophy and practice. Tips for dealing with toxic people. Incorporating Stoic teachings into our daily lives can be a powerful way to protect our mental and emotional well-being, especially when dealing with toxic people. Stoicism is not just a theoretical philosophy, it is meant to be lived and practiced. The ancient Stoic philosophers understood the chaos and negativity that others can bring into our lives, and they provided practical tools for maintaining peace of mind despite external turbulence. By integrating these practices, we can stay grounded and resilient when faced with toxic behaviors. Here are some Stoic-inspired tips for managing interactions with toxic people in the modern world. Distinguish what you can control from what you can't. The cornerstone of Stoic philosophy is the idea that there are things within our control and things beyond our control. This distinction is vital when dealing with toxic individuals. The actions and attitudes of others are beyond our influence. No matter how much we may want to change someone's behavior, we cannot control them. However, we have complete control over how we respond to them. Epictetus, one of the most prominent Stoic philosophers, famously stated, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." This is an essential point when dealing with toxic people. If someone is rude, manipulative, or judgmental, their actions are beyond our control. What we can control is our emotional and behavioral response to those actions. When we internalize this idea, it becomes easier to accept that we cannot change a toxic person's behavior, but we can choose how we let it affect us. For example, if a colleague frequently undermines your work or tries to provoke you, remember that while you cannot control their behavior, you can control whether you react with anger, frustration, or detachment. Recognizing this distinction allows you to release the stress of trying to fix someone else's behavior and focus on maintaining your own peace. Practice empathy, but set clear boundaries. One of the most challenging aspects of dealing with toxic people is navigating the emotional toll they take on us. It's easy to get swept into their negativity or to feel personally attacked by their behavior. However, Stoicism teaches us that it's possible to understand the source of someone's toxicity without letting it overwhelm us. Empathy, when practiced mindfully, can help us avoid reacting with hostility or defensiveness. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, suggests that we should look at the flaws of others with compassion, seeing them as products of their own circumstances and limitations. He writes, "When someone wrongs you, remember that he is a human being acting according to his limitations and beliefs." This perspective does not justify toxic behavior, but it allows us to see it as a reflection of the other person's struggles rather than a personal attack. However, empathy should never lead to self-sacrifice or enabling toxic behavior. Setting boundaries is a critical part of Stoic practice. While we may understand the underlying reasons for a person's actions, that doesn't mean we should allow their toxicity to affect us or continue without consequence. Setting healthy boundaries means being firm in protecting our emotional well-being, even when faced with people who try to cross those lines. For example, if a friend is constantly belittling you or attempting to manipulate your emotions, you can practice empathy by understanding their insecurities. But at the same time, you should be clear about where your limits lie. You can calmly express that their behavior is acceptable and that you won't engage in interactions that undermine yourself. Take a deep breath and reflect before reacting. One of the most valuable Stoic practices is the ability to pause before reacting. Toxic people often provoke impulsive emotional responses, like anger or frustration, but the Stoics urge us to take a moment to reflect before we react. This is a skill that requires patience and self-awareness, but it can be transformative. When someone says something hurtful or manipulative, it's natural to feel an immediate rush of emotions. However, if we allow ourselves to react without thought, we might say or do things that we later regret. By practicing mindfulness and taking a deep breath, we create a space between stimulus and response. In this space, we can reflect on how we want to act, rather than react. Seneca offers valuable advice on this point. No man is free who is not master of himself. Mastering our responses, especially in emotionally charged situations, is a cornerstone of Stoic practice. By pausing and reflecting, we allow ourselves to act in alignment with our values and maintain control over our emotions, rather than letting a toxic person dictate our emotional state. For example, if a family member starts criticizing you, instead of immediately snapping back, take a moment to breathe and ask yourself, what is the most peaceful and rational response here? How can I protect my peace and stay true to myself? This brief pause allows you to respond with clarity, preventing you from being swept away by a knee-jerk reaction. Bury. Remember the impermanence of situations. Another core Stoic idea is the concept of impermanence. Everything is temporary, and that includes difficult situations. Toxic people can make us feel trapped, especially when we encounter them regularly, whether at work, within our family, or in social circles. However, it's essential to remember that no situation, no matter how challenging, lasts forever. Marcus Aurelius frequently reflected on the transient nature of life, writing, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This reminder that everything is fleeting can be a source of comfort and strength when we are dealing with difficult or toxic individuals. It helps us remember that the present moment is not permanent, and even the most toxic people will eventually leave our lives, or we will change our approach to them over time. By reminding ourselves of the impermanence of our circumstances, we can prevent toxic interactions from feeling like endless struggles. Instead of being consumed by frustration or anxiety, we can adopt a more detached and resilient mindset, knowing that this too shall pass. This can help us maintain a sense of calm and clarity, even when dealing with challenging people. For instance, if you find yourself stuck in a toxic situation at work, remind yourself that the situation is temporary. With this understanding, you can focus on handling it with grace and not let it dictate your emotional state. Knowing that this situation will pass allows you to endure it with patience and strength. Practice emotional detachment. Finally, emotional detachment is one of the most powerful Stoic practices for dealing with toxic people. Emotional detachment does not mean being cold or indifferent. It means not allowing the behavior of others to affect your emotional state. Seneca, in particular, emphasizes the importance of detaching from external events and focusing on maintaining our own tranquility. Seneca teaches, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Toxic people often manipulate our emotions by creating fear, guilt, or frustration. However, these emotional reactions are often magnified by our own thoughts and interpretations. By practicing emotional detachment, we can learn to observe toxic behavior without letting it infiltrate our inner world. To practice emotional detachment, it helps to remember that the toxic person's actions are a reflection of their own issues, not of our worth or abilities. We are not defined by their treatment of us. When we detach emotionally, we free ourselves from the need to engage with or internalize their negativity. For example, if someone insults you, rather than internalizing their words or taking them personally, you can simply observe the behavior for what it is, an expression of their own unhappiness. By maintaining emotional detachment, you protect your peace and prevent their toxicity from affecting your mindset. Dealing with toxic people is never easy, but the Stoic philosophy provides us with valuable tools for maintaining emotional resilience in the face of adversity. By distinguishing what we can control, practicing empathy while setting boundaries, reflecting before reacting, remembering the impermanence of situations, and practicing emotional detachment, we can protect our peace and navigate toxic environments with greater ease and strength. The teachings of Stoic philosophers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius offer a timeless guide to remaining unshaken by the negativity of others. By applying these principles to our lives, we can create a more peaceful, focused, and resilient inner world, no matter what toxic people or circumstances we encounter. Conclusion: the Stoic strength in times of conflict. Navigating the world of toxic people can feel like walking through a minefield. One wrong step, one misjudged word, and we risk being emotionally detonated. Whether it's a toxic colleague, a family member with a habit of manipulating, or a stranger whose negativity stirs frustration, it's inevitable that we all encounter individuals who challenge our peace. However, the wisdom of Stoic philosophy offers us a powerful framework to not only survive these encounters, but thrive despite them. At its core, Stoicism teaches that we cannot control the actions of others, but we can control how we respond to them. It empowers us to develop resilience and emotional fortitude, ensuring that external events, whether from toxic individuals or unfortunate circumstances, do not disrupt our inner tranquility. This is not about passively enduring mistreatment or allowing ourselves to be walked over. It's about choosing not to allow the negativity of others to infect our mental and emotional states. The real test lies in whether we can hold on to our serenity and make wise choices, despite the storm brewing around us. True strength is not in avoiding toxicity or trying to change others to fit our ideals, but in our ability to remain unshaken, regardless of the chaos. The Stoic philosophers, Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius, understood that life is filled with challenges, including toxic individuals, and that our strength comes not from the circumstances, but from how we handle them. In practicing Stoicism, we learn to recognize that our emotions are not dictated by others' behavior, but by our own interpretations and responses. This realization is liberating because it means that we do not have to be at the mercy of another person's negativity. Just as Epictetus reminds us, it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. This simple yet profound statement serves as a constant reminder that it's not the toxicity of others that harms us. It is our reaction to it. The control is always ours. When faced with a toxic person, the first step is to pause. Instead of reacting immediately with anger or frustration, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, what is truly within my control here? How can I preserve my peace, regardless of what this person does or says? This act of reflection allows us to approach the situation with greater clarity and wisdom, preventing us from being swept up in the storm of negativity. Embracing empathy and detachment. Another key aspect of Stoic resilience is learning to view toxic individuals through the lens of empathy. While their behavior may be hurtful or frustrating, understanding that their actions stem from their own internal struggles can help us avoid taking their behavior personally. Marcus Aurelius's teachings about human imperfection remind us that people are often acting from a place of pain, fear, or insecurity. By practicing compassion, we are able to distance ourselves emotionally from their attacks, not allowing their pain to become ours. Empathy, however, does not mean tolerating harmful behavior. The Stoics were clear on this. We must protect our peace and well-being by setting firm boundaries. We are not obligated to accept toxicity or let others infringe upon our emotional or mental space. Boundaries are a vital part of self-respect and self-care, and by setting them, we create a clear line between ourselves and the toxic individual's negativity. This practice is crucial in preserving our emotional strength and ensuring that we are not overwhelmed by the impact of another person's behavior. The power of reflection and emotional mastery. The Stoics understood that we are not always able to control what happens to us, but we can control how we react. Emotional mastery, as advocated by Seneca, is one of the most powerful tools in responding to toxic behavior. Seneca taught that we should practice emotional detachment, learning to observe our feelings without being ruled by them. In this way, we can experience emotions like anger or hurt without letting them dictate our actions. We can feel upset by someone's words, but not let them dictate how we behave or think about ourselves. To put this into practice, we must engage in constant self-reflection. After a challenging interaction with a toxic person, take time to reflect. What did you feel? Why did you feel that way? What is within your power to change in your response, and how can you grow from this experience? Reflection allows us to learn from each encounter and to ensure that we don't repeat the same emotional mistakes. For example, if a toxic person provokes you into an argument, take a step back after the encounter and ask yourself, did I maintain my peace? Did I respond in a way that reflected my true values? If you didn't, this is an opportunity to learn and grow. Every challenge presents a chance to strengthen our emotional resilience and become more aligned with our Stoic ideals. Remembering impermanence. Finally, the Stoic practice of remembering the impermanence of all things can provide profound comfort during difficult interactions with toxic people. The Stoics constantly reminded themselves that life is fleeting and that nothing, whether good or bad, lasts forever. This reminder helps us see toxic behavior in its proper perspective. Just as a storm eventually passes, so too will this moment of conflict. By recognizing the temporary nature of any situation, we can avoid feeling trapped or overwhelmed. This practice of remembering that all things are temporary can shift our mindset in a powerful way. When a toxic person tries to provoke us, instead of getting caught up in their negativity, we can step back and remind ourselves that this situation too shall pass. We are not stuck. We are in control, and with time, things will shift, just as the tides of life inevitably do. A lasting inner peace. To deal with toxic people without losing our inner peace, we must cultivate an unwavering sense of self-awareness and emotional control. Stoicism teaches us that our peace comes from within, and that no one has the power to take it from us unless we allow it. By practicing the teachings of Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius, we can develop the mental toughness to withstand the challenges posed by toxic people and remain serene, focused, and undisturbed. Remember that true strength lies in our ability to stay grounded and unshaken, no matter what others may say or do. We have the power to choose our reactions, and through the practice of Stoic virtues, we can create an unshakable inner peace that remains steadfast, regardless of external circumstances. So, the next time you encounter a toxic person, remember the wisdom of the Stoics. How can I respond in a way that preserves my peace and balance? By continually asking ourselves this question, we are better equipped to handle any situation with poise, clarity, and resilience, remaining unshaken in the face of life's challenges. If you found this video insightful and empowering, don't forget to hit that like button. It helps us reach more people who can benefit from these Stoic teachings. And if you're looking for more wisdom on how to live a life of inner peace and strength, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Join our community and start transforming your mindset today. Stay unshaken, and I'll see you in the next video.